Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 4. Let's watch.
I felt for you was love for you, like in your heart, and love for you as your family, and love for you as a person. Yes. It was absolutely genuine.
Let me ask you this. Would you be upset if Marshall and I had a 20-minute conversation? Look how Kwame and fucking, what's her name?
Yeah, I feel bad for Chelsea. She doesn't deserve this. She's, I think, been handling it pretty well. And then it just keeps happening. And then eventually she's having enough. She's like, hey, am I off base to have some upsetness about this?
Okay. Bro. I think
Why?
that's a
Why they have to
different-
have two? Why they have to keep going?
Let me tell you this.
There's no...
I would never in my lifetime step out of bounds.
Well, then turn behind you and look.
Yeah. Child, I would behead him.
Yeah.
I would behead him.
Yeah.
There's obviously a whole lot going on.
So I don't know exactly what they mean by behead, but a common reaction to this is to chastise anger, with anger, and to, I don't know if control is the right word, but to say, you can't do that. And certainly there's an option there to draw a boundary, I suppose. But another option, which is available to people, I don't know the best one, but another option is to think, well, what's really happening here? I don't want to believe that Kwame and her are a thing, or that Kwame would not want to be with me. I want him to be with me. But what if his love for me is that fragile and temporary? It'd be good to know that. So another option is to go in with inquiry. It hurts and you might feel anger, but you could go in there and say, like, so I was watching you and Micah talking, and it looked more intimate. And I'm not getting angry at you. I'm not yelling at you. I just want to know if what's going on, because I would like to know for both of our sake. Where is your heart? Because if you're unsure, then maybe we should call it off. I'm not saying are you in love with Micah. I'm just saying, are you sure about us? So that's another direction to go in. Personally, that's what I would do in a situation like this, because I would rather know my future. I would rather know where someone's at. I also have a value or a principle of autonomy of a partner, that they get to make their own choices. And if those choices lead away from me, even though I don't like that, it's their choice. And I would just like to know what's going on. Because, there's a possibility that he would say, oh, no, it was just an intense conversation, but zero chance that I want to be with Micah, and 100% chance I want to be with you. I'm so sorry that I did that. I don't know. I just kind of lost my mind. I forgot that you were watching. I'm new to this whole thing. It's, he could say something like that, but it certainly doesn't look that way, right? It certainly looks like his attachment and love for Chelsea is not as strong as he is saying, or as she might hope.
A whole fucking lot going on. And there's a whole lot of factors playing into it,
Okay, that's enough.
I don't know, just throwing it out there. Some of you might be able to relate to this, that you might consistently find yourself in relationships with abusive people. And it's not your fault that those things would happen. It's always the abusive person's fault. And if you grew up with a fair amount of abuse being normalized to you, and or you have low self-esteem, you feel like you don't deserve to be treated well, then you might find yourself attracted to, or at least not breaking up with people in the beginning who exhibit signs of abusive behavior and exploitation and meanness and dismissing you. And so because you feel like, well, that's the way love is, or that's what I deserve, or whatever. Think of someone like Liz as a possible candidate of this, Liz and Ed. And when we run into someone like this, we also can misinterpret the mixture of feelings we get when we are maybe attracted to someone, but also when they engage in that brainwashing, gaslighting, meanness, abuse, criticism, putting down. It can evoke a lot of emotion for us, right? A lot of pain, a lot of trauma reemerging. But sometimes it's hard to interpret what those emotions are. In fact, there's a lot of experiments on this, that we will, in the laboratory, induce a physical feeling in people, and depending on how we prime the person, they will report a different emotion. There's various different studies, and there's actually one really famous one, I believe in the 60s. So let's just take him, for example. This is unknown, but maybe there's our emotions are physical, largely. We interpret it in the brain, and it's a back and forth, it's a system, but a lot of our emotional cues come from our bodies. And that's why when you want emotional awareness, getting to know your body is really important, because then you can start interpreting things. It can be kind of hard to pinpoint, right? When you're feeling sad, how does that exactly feel? But you kind of know it when you feel it, particularly when you're really in tune with it. Anyway, so it's possible that Kwame is being harmed right now. He's being put down, he's being dehumanized, he's being treated in a mean way while there's a smile on one's face. And he's having like a gut punch, for example, pain, hurt, devastation. And because of his history, who knows, there's no indication of this, he might interpret that gut punch as love, as this is someone that affects me. This is someone, because you might even hear people say this when they fall in love. It's just like, oh my God, it was like a gut punch. So it might feel in a certain way, your brain is what your body and brain and soul are registering is actually pain. You're like, oh, but because of your history of, for example, when your parents might do this to you and hurt your feelings in this way, you might have this confusion about that. Like, well, but I want to believe that my parents love me, so this must be the feeling of love. It's not a conscious thing, but you rinse and repeat that over time. Someone comes along and is hurtful in this smiley, playful way, but pretty hurtful, and you don't know how to interpret it, or you might interpret it as love, as, ooh, this is a familiar feeling. I should go toward this person. It could be a cycle that could be very self-destructive, and some of you might be able to relate to it. I have no idea if that's what's happening right here, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Because another possibility is that in the pods, she was doing things, I'm guessing we would have seen it, but maybe he would have picked up on something that might have affected him in that way that contributed to his attraction to her to begin with. I don't know. We didn't see the evidence of that.
I have to go stop it. That's enough.
Go stop that. Go stop that.
I don't want to I just don't want to, I want them to hash it out.
It's disrespectful to the person that she decided to commit to.
And good for Chelsea that she's like, I need to go over there. She's like, well, I don't know. I want him to hash it out. I don't want to be one of those people, I think is what she's saying, which is, healthy of her. But yeah, it's hard to be in her position.
Too as well.
Who's her person
so,
again?
Like, I don't know, but where is he?
Was it Paul?
Where the fuck is he?
I mean, I know this is
Yeah, I totally forgot about Paul. Presumably he has seen this, I'm guessing, and is skedaddling. I don't know. I think we saw Paul and Zach walk off together.
nothing that we're doing is harmful. I just want you to know that, no matter how things turn or how things go, the reason why I was so with you in the pods is because I love who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, I will be here.
I don't know. It sounds like it's coded message of, I want you to leave Chelsea and be with me. It just seems that way. I normally wouldn't think that about someone, but given all the other things we've seen and all the other foundations to immaturity and lack of actual human care of other people, and really just lack of understanding of the context, I get the impression that she isn't even necessarily invested in actually meeting someone. It seems like it's just one giant game. I really have a hard time saying these things because these are typical things that people will jump to as far as conclusions go, and I see that a lot, and I'm always like, well, I don't know, it doesn't seem likely. In this situation, I'm wondering, am I being triggered somehow, and so I'm just going in that direction? I don't know. She's not saying that. There's no evidence that she's saying that, so I'm completely speculating.
I will. I'll still be here.
Yeah.
I really will.
Yeah.
I was all in with you.
And then the fact that he doesn't get up and leave is, I think, an indication of how Kwame feels, that he's still into it with her. There's all these opportunities. The conversation's over. She made a joke and he confronted her, and there's nothing more to talk about, but he's still just staring into her eyes.
I was literally all in with you the whole time.
Yeah.
This season, I mean, we thought Cole was bad. We thought Cole was bad.
It's really nice seeing you, though.
I know, it's nice seeing you too. Like, I do love you. You're wonderful.
Yeah, I feel bad for Chelsea, but maybe this is helpful. Maybe she's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to retreat emotionally now because something is amiss.
I don't want to be here no more. I'm
No,
going home.
no.
Bye.
No. If you go home, I'm going home.
Man, I'm not gonna take this shit for nothing.
Yeah, at least for self-preservation's sake, it's just like, I don't want to be a jerk, but I also just can't stand being near this and watching it. It's too painful. And 2 thumbs up to Chelsea for, I mean, there's lots of different ways she could go about it, but she didn't go over there and start yelling at everybody. That's a common reaction. It's a impulse, but I don't think there's a lot you're going to gain from that. So again, you could argue it's justified. You could argue that maybe it's fighting for your relationship, but it depends. But I would say if I were her, this is what I would do. Just like, I don't want to get in there. I don't want to control Kwame. If he doesn't want to be with me, if he doesn't want to sit next to me, if this is what he wants to do, then this is what he wants to do. It hurts. I want to tell him to knock it off, but what good would that do? If this is what he's capable of, then it just says that he is either this way, or he doesn't care about my feelings, or isn't really in love with me, or he wants to be with her. It's going to hurt, but if that's where it's headed, then that's where it's headed. And the fact that Kwame at no point thinks, maybe I should diverge and go to Chelsea, or where is Chelsea? That kind of thing. You know, it really says something. And you know, if anyone ever treats you this way, it's a red flag. Obviously, it's not an indication, but it should be an indication of something potentially.
Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing.
This is like watching, I don't know, what would it be like watching? This would be like watching Game of Thrones and Ramsey Bolton actually becomes king of Westeros. All right, well, I want to remind everyone that I'm on Cameo if you want to partake in that, to give someone a birthday shout out or an anniversary thing, or I don't know, I've even proposed for people once or twice, which was overwhelmingly awesome and a mixture of feelings of feeling like, me? Why would you want me to do that? But anyway, and also there's merch. If you want to get merch, there's t-shirts and stuff. We're developing new merch as we speak, and please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.